Part 5 of The Matchless Orinda. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Elizabeth Klett. Poems by the most deservedly admired Mrs. Katherine Phillips, The Matchless Orinda. Part 5. Poems 41 to 50. 41. Philoclea's Parting. Kinder than a condemned man's reprieve was your dear company that bade me live. When by Rosania's silence I had been the wretchedest martyr any age hath seen. But as when traitors faint upon the rack, tormentors strive to call their spirits back, not out of kindness to preserve their breath, but to increase the torments of their death, so was I raised to this glorious state, to make my fall the more unfortunate. But this I know, none ever died before upon a sadder or a nobler score. 42. To Rosania, now Mrs. Montague, being with her. As men that are with visions graced must have all other thoughts displaced, and by those short descents of light with loss of sense or spirit's flight, so since thou wert my happiness, I could not hope the rate was less, and thus the vision which I gain is short t'enjoy and hard t'attain. Ah, then, what a poor trifle's all that thing which here we pleasure call, since what our very souls hath cost is hardly got and quickly lost. Yet is there justice in the fate, for should we dwell in blest estate, our joys thereby would so inflame, we should forget from whence we came. If this so sad a doom can quit me for the follies I commit, let no estrangement on thy part add a new ruin to my heart. When on myself I do reflect, I can no smile from thee expect. But if thy kindness hath no plea, some freedom grant for charity. Else the just world must needs deny our friendship and eternity. This love will ne'er that title hold, for mine's too hot and thine too cold. Divided rivers lose their name, and so our too unequal flame parted will passion be in me, and an indifference in thee. Thy absence I could easier find, provided thou wert well and kind, than such a presence as is this, made up of snatches of my bliss. So when the earth long gasps for rain, if she at last some few drops gain, she is more parched than at first, that small recruit increased the thirst. 43. To my Lucasia. Let dull philosophers enquire no more in nature's womb, or causes strive t' explore, by what strange harmony and course of things each body to the whole a tribute brings, what secret unions secret neighbourings make, and of each other how they do partake. These are but low experiments, but he that nature's harmony entire would see, must search agreeing souls, sit down and view how sweet the mixture is, how full, how true, by what soft touches spirits greet and kiss, and in each other can complete their bliss. A wonder so sublime, it will admit no rude spectator to contemplate it. The object will refine, and he that can friendship revere must be a noble man. How much above the common rate of things must they then be, from whom this union springs? But what's all this to me, who live to be disprover of my own mortality? And he that knew my unimproved soul would say I meant all friendship to control. But bodies move in time, and so must minds, and though the attempt no easy progress finds, yet quit me not, lest I should desperate grow, and to such friendship add some patience now. O may good Heaven but so much virtue lend, to make me fit to be Lucasia's friend. But I'll forsake myself, and seek a new self in her breast that's far more rich and true. Thus the poor bee unmarked doth hum and fly, and droned with age would unregarded die, unless some lucky drop of precious gum do bless the insect with an amber tomb. Then glorious in its funeral the bee gets eminence and gets eternity. 44. On controversies in religion. Religion, which true policy befriends, designed by God to serve man's noblest ends, is by that old deceiver's subtle play made the chief party in its own decay, and meets that eagle's destiny, whose breast felt the same shaft which his own feathers dressed. For that great enemy of souls perceived, the notion of a deity was weaved so closely in man's soul, to ruin that he must at once the world depopulate. But as those tyrants who their wills pursue, if they expound old laws, need make no new, so he advantage takes of nature's light, and raises that to a bare useless height. Or while we seek for truth, he in the quest mixes a passion or an interest, to make us lose it, that I know not how, 'tis not our practice, but our quarrel now. As in the moon's eclipse some pagans thought their barbarous clamours her deliverance wrought. So we suppose that truth oppressed lies, and needs a rescue by our enmities. But 'tis injustice, and the mind's disease, to think of gaining truth by losing peace. Knowledge and love, if true, do still unite, God's love and knowledge are both infinite. And though indeed truth does delight to lie at some remoteness from a common eye, yet 'tis not in a thunder or a noise, but in soft whispers and the stiller voice. Why should we then knowledge so rudely treat, making our weapon what was meant our meat? 'Tis ignorance that makes us quarrel so, the soul that's dark will be contracted too. Chimeras make a noise, swelling and vain, and soon resolve to their own smoke again. But a true light the spirit doth dilate, and robs it of its proud and sullen state, makes love admired because 'tis understood, and makes us wise because it makes us good. 'Tis to a right prospect of things that we owe our uprightness and our charity. For who resists a beam when shining bright, is not a sinner of a common height. That states a forfeiture and helps are spent, not more a sin than 'tis a punishment. The soul which sees things in their native frame, without opinion's mask or custom's name, cannot be clogged to sense, or count that high which hath its estimation from a lie. Mean sordid things, which by mistake we prize, and absent covet, but enjoyed despise. But scorning these hath robbed them of their art, either to swell or to subdue the heart, and learned that generous frame to be above the world in hopes, below it all in love. Touched with divine and inward life doth run, not resting till it hath its centre won. Moves steadily until it safe doth lie I' the root of all its immortality. And resting here hath yet activity, to grow more like unto the Deity, good, universal, wise, and just as he, the same in kind, though differing in degree, till at the last 'tis swallowed up and grown with God, and with the whole creation one. Itself so small a part i' the whole is lost, and generals have particulars engrossed, that dark contracted personality, like mists before the sun, will from it fly. And then the soul, one shining sphere, at length with true love's wisdom filled and purged strength, beholds her highest good with open face, and like him all the world she can embrace. 45. To the Honoured Lady, E.C. Madam, I do not write to you that men may know How much I'm honoured that I may do so, Nor hope, though I your rich example give, To write with more success than I can live, To cure the age, nor think I can be just, Who only dare to write because I must. I'm full of you, and something must express, To vent my wonder, and your power confess. Had I ne'er heard of your illustrious name, Nor known the Scotch or English ancient fame, Yet if your glorious frame did but appear, I could have soon read all your grandeur there. I could have seen in each majestic ray What greatness ancestors could e'er convey, And in the lustre of your eyes alone, How near you were allied to the throne. Which yet doth lessen you who cannot need Those bright advantages which you exceed. For you are such, that your descent from kings Receives more honour from you than it brings. As much above their glories as our toil, A court to you were but a handsome soil. And if we name the stock on which you grew, 'Tis rather to do right to it than you. For those that would your greatest splendour see, Must read your soul more than your pedigree. For as the sacred temple had without beauty to feed those eyes that gazed about, and yet had riches, state, and wonder more, for those that stood within the shining door, but in the holy place the admitted few lustre received and inspiration too. So though your glories in your face be seen, and so much bright instruction in your mien, you are not known but where you will impart the treasures of your more illustrious heart. Religion all her odours sheds on you, who by obeying vindicate her too. For that rich beam of heaven was almost in nice disputes and false pretences lost, so doubly injured she could scarce subsist betwixt the hypocrite and casuist. Till you by great example did convince us of her nature and her residence, and chose to show her face and ease her grief, less by your arguments than by your life, which if it should be copied out, would be a solid body of divinity. Your principle and practice light would give, what we should do and what we should believe, for the extensive knowledge you profess, you do acquire with more ease than confess. And as by you knowledge has thus obtained to be refined and then to be explained, so in return she useful is to you, in practice and in contemplation too. For by the various succours she hath lent, you act with judgment and think with content. Yet those vast parts with such a temper meet, that you can lay them at Religion's feet. Nor is it half so bold as it is true, that Virtue is herself obliged to you. For being dressed in your subduing charms, she conquers more than did the Roman arms. We see in you how much that malice lied, that stuck on goodness any sullen pride, and that the harshness some professors wear, false to their own, and not Religion's share. But your bright sweetness, if it but appear, reclaims the bad, and softens the austere. Men talked of honour too, but could not tell what was the secret of that active spell. That beauteous mantle they to divers lent, yet wondered what the mighty nothing meant. Some did confine her to a worthy fame, and some to royal parents gave her name. You having claim unto her either way, by what a king could give, a world could pay, have a more living honour in your breast, which justifies and yet obscures the rest. A principle from fame and pomp untied, so truly high that it despises pride, buying good actions at the dearest rate, looks down on ill with as much scorn as hate. Acts things so generous and bravely hard, and in obliging finds so much reward, so self-denying great, so firmly just, apt to confer, strict to preserve a trust. That all whose honour would be justified, must by your standards have it stamped and tried. But your perfection heightens others' crimes, and you reproach while you inform the times. While sad advantage you will scarce believe, or if you must, you do conceal and grieve. You scorn so poor a foil as others' ill, and are protector to the unhappy still. Yet are so tender when you see a spot, you blush for those who for themselves could not. You are so much above your sex, that we believe your life your greatest courtesy. For women boast they have you while you live, a pattern and a representative, and future mothers who in childbirth groan, shall wish for daughters knowing you are one. The world hath kings whose crowns are cemented, or by the blood they boast, or that they shed. Yet these great idols of the stooping crew have neither pleasure sound nor honour true. They either fight or play, and power court in trivial anger or in cruel sport. You, who a nobler privilege enjoy, for you can save whom they can but destroy, an empire have where different mixtures kiss, you're grave, not sour, and kind, but not remiss. Such sweetened majesty, such humble state, do love and reverence at once create. Pardon, dear Madam, these untaught essays. I can admire more fitly than I can praise. Things so sublime are dimly understood, and you are born so great, and are so good, so much above the honour of your name, and by neglect do so secure your fame, whose beauty such as captivates the wise, yet only you of all the world despise, that have so vast a knowledge so subdued, religion so adorned and so pursued, a wit so strong that who would it define, will need one 10 times more acute than mine. Yet ruled so that its vigour managed thus, becomes at once graceful and generous, whose honour has so delicate a sense, who always pardon, never give offence, who needing nothing, yet to all are kind, who have so large a heart, so rich a mind, whose friendship stills of the obliging side, and yet so free from tyranny and pride, who do in love like Jonathan descend, and strip yourself to clothe your happy friend, whose kindness and whose modesty is such, t'expect so little, and deserve so much, who have such candid worth, such dear concern, where we so much may love and so much learn, whose every wonder, though it fills and shines, it never to an ill excess declines. But all are found so sweetly opposite, as are in Titian's pieces shade and light, that he that would your great description try, though he write well, would be as lost as I, who of injurious zeal convicted stand, to draw you with so bold and bad a hand, but that, like other glories, I presume, you will enlighten where you might consume. 46. Parting with Lucasia. A Song. Well, we will do that rigid thing which makes spectators think we part, though absence hath for none a sting but those who keep each other's heart. And when our sense is dispossessed, our labouring souls will heave and pant, and gasp for one another's breast, since they their conveyances they want. Nay, we have felt the tedious smart of absent friendship, and do know that when we die we can but part. And who knows what we shall do now? Yet I must go, we will submit, and so our own disposers be, for while we nobly suffer it, we triumph for necessity. By this we shall be truly great, if having other things o'ercome, to make our victory complete, we can be conquerors at home. Nay, then to meet we may conclude, and all obstructions overthrow, since we our passion have subdued, which is the strongest thing I know. 47. Against Pleasure. Set by Dr. Coleman. There's no such thing as pleasure here, 'tis all a perfect cheat, which does but shine and disappear, whose charm is but deceit, the empty bribe of yielding souls, which first betrays and then controls. 'Tis true, it looks at distance fair, but if we do approach, the fruit of Sodom will impair, and perish at a touch, in being than in fancy less, and we expect more than possess. For by our pleasures we are cloyed, and so desire is done, or else like rivers they make wide the channel where they run, and either way true bliss destroys, making us narrow or our joys. We covet pleasure easily, but it not so possess, for many things must make it be, but one may make it less. Nay, were our state as we could choose it, 'twould be consumed by fear to lose it. What art thou then, thou winged air, more weak and swift than fame, whose next successor is despair, and its attendant shame? The experienced prince then reason had, who said of pleasure, it is mad. 48. A Prayer. Eternal reason, glorious majesty, compared to whom what can be said to be? Whose attributes are thee, who art alone cause of all various things, and yet but one, whose essence can no more be searched by man, than heaven, thy throne, be grasped with a span. Yet if this great creation was designed to several ends fitted for every kind, sure man, the world's epitome, must be formed to the best that is to study thee. And as our dignity 'tis duty too, which is summ'd up in this to know and do, these comely rows of creatures spell thy name, whereby we grope to find from whence they came. By thy own chain of causes brought to think, there must be one, then find that highest link. Thus all created excellence we see is a resemblance faint and dark of thee. Such shadows are produced by the moonbeams of trees or houses in the running streams. Yet by impressions born with us we find how good, great, just thou art, how unconfined. Here we are swallowed up and gladly dwell, safely adoring what we cannot tell. All we know is, thou art supremely good, and dost delight to be so understood. A spicy mountain on the universe, on which thy richest odours do disperse. But as the sea to fill a vessel heaves, More greedily than any cask receives, Besieging round to find some gap in it, Which will a new infusion admit, so dost thou covet that thou mayst dispense Upon the empty world thy influence, Lov'st to disperse thyself in kindness, thus The King of Kings waits to be gracious. On this account, O God, enlarge my heart, To entertain what thou wouldst fain impart. Nor let that soul, by several titles thine, And most capacious form'd for things divine, So nobly meant, that when it most doth miss, 'Tis in mistaken pantings after bliss, Degrade itself in sordid things' delight, Or by profaner mixtures lose its right. Oh, that with fixed unbroken thoughts it may Admire the light which does obscure the day! And since 'tis angels' work it hath to do, May its composure be like angels too. When shall these clogs of sense and fancy break, That I may hear the God within me speak? When with a silent and retired art Shall I with all this empty hurry part? To the still voice above my soul advance, My light and joy placed in his countenance. By whose dispense my soul to such fame brought, May tame each treacherous, fix each scattering thought, With such distinctions all things here behold, And so to separate each dross from gold, That nothing my free soul may satisfy, But to imitate, enjoy, and study thee. 49. To Mrs. M. A. upon absence. 'Tis now since I began to die 4 months, yet still I gasping live, Wrapt up in sorrow do I lie, Hoping, yet doubting a reprieve. Adam from Paradise expell'd, just such a wretched being held. 'Tis not thy love I fear to lose, that will in spite of absence hold, But 'tis the benefit and use is lost, as in imprisoned gold, Which though the sum be ne'er so great, enriches nothing but conceit. What angry star then governs me, that I must feel a double smart, Prisoner to fate as well as thee, Kept from thy face, link'd to thy heart? Because my love all love excels, Must my grief have no parallels? Sapless and dead as winter here I now remain, and all I see Copies of my wild state appear, But I am their epitome. Love me no more, for I am grown Too dead and dull for thee to own. 50. To Mrs. Mary Awbrey. Soul of my soul, my joy, my crown, my friend, A name which all the rest doth comprehend, How happy are we now, whose souls are grown By an incomparable mixture one, Whose well acquainted minds are now as near As love, or vows, or friendship can endear! I have no thought but what's to thee reveal'd, Nor thou desire that is from me conceal'd. Thy heart locks up my secrets richly set, And my breast is thy private cabinet. Thou shedd'st no tear but what my moisture lent, And if I sigh, it is thy breath is spent. United thus, what horror can appear Worthy our sorrow, anger, or our fear? Let the dull world alone to talk and fight, And with their vast ambitions nature fright. Let them despise so innocent a flame, While envy, pride, and faction play their game. But we by love sublim'd so high shall rise, To pity kings and conquerors despise, Since we that sacred union have engross'd, Which they and all the factious world have lost. Part 5.